Welcome back, fellow virtual adventurers. I'm your host, Zombie Conlon. Today we're diving into an exciting topic that millions of people love to talk about, Sword Art Online. Alright folks, let's get right to it. Sword Art Online is an anime created by Reiki Kawahara, and it was first debuted in the Western Hemisphere on June 7th, 2014, following its original TV release in Japan on July 8th, 2012. For those who don't know about Sword Art Online, it's an anime that features an amazing protagonist named Kazuto Kirigaya, who goes by the alias Kirito. So the show starts with our protagonist getting ready to dive into a new game called Sword Art Online, which in the anime debuted in May of 2022. And when I say dive in, I mean really fully diving into the game. So in the anime, technology has surpassed our own, and VR has taken on a next level feature where instead of standing in your living room with a set of goggles on your head, they put on a helmet and lie down in bed. The helmet actually intercepts the signals from their brain and allows their conscious to be transferred inside the game, which allows them to taste their food, feel the sun on their skin, feel the breeze in their hair. It's just amazing. And the game is an MMORPG, a massive multiplayer online role-playing game. Now, in the anime, the creator of Sword Art Online also created the helmet that allowed the players to dive into the game, and called the helmet the Nerve Gear, and actually only released 10,000 copies of the game, as well as the corresponding Nerve Gear used to access it. Players had to wait until a certain time that the servers went online to be able to log into the game. So back to our wondrous protagonist's journey. Kirito puts the helmet on and lays down in his bed and says our favorite iconic line, "Link start," which activates the Nerve Gear and sends him into the game where the other 9,999 players are also diving in. So Kirito runs into another player named Klein, who in my opinion never gets the amount of screen time he deserves. But anyways, so Kirito decides to help him learn a few things about the game because Kirito was actually lucky enough to be a beta tester for the game before its official release to the public. He shows him a bit of the ropes, and when he's done, Klein gets ready to log out because he was smart enough to order a pizza to be delivered at a certain time for when he figured he'd be done gaming. This is where the show starts to take you for a crazy ride. Alright, so if you haven't watched the show and don't want any intense spoilers, I would recommend pausing my video here, going to watch the show. It is amazing, and the way they put this show together is absolutely artistic. No, seriously, I'm about to do some epic spoilers, so go watch the show and come back to explore what I think are some of Kirito's most iconic moments. So for those who are still watching this video or just tuned back in after checking out the show, get ready as we explore Kirito's iconic moments, losses, and let's not forget his most insanely epic moments. Let's get back to the show. So Klein attempts to log out, only to find out that there's no logout feature. That's right, the logout feature has been removed from the game, and the only way to escape the game is for the players to beat all 100 floors and their bosses in Sword Art Online. But there's another catch. If a player dies in the game, their Nerve Gear will simultaneously kill the player in the real world. So the creator of the Nerve Gear in Sword Art Online's name is Akihiko Kayaba, and he created the Nerve Gear and these functions to have the most realistic virtual world possible. It's absolutely insane, I know. Anyway, so as Kirito and Klein are noticing that there's no way to log out, they're forced transported to the main capital of the first floor, the Town of Beginnings. As they arrive, they see the rest of the 10,000 players also appearing there with them, and then the creator appears in the sky, dressed as a giant hooded demonic creature in this big red cape cloak. He then proceeds to tell the players trapped in the game how and why he created Sword Art Online, as well as the conditions for exiting the game.
Attention players, I welcome you to my world.
What's he mean by that?
My name is Akihiko Kayaba, and as of this moment, I am in control of this world. I'm sure most of you have already noticed an item missing from your main menus, the logout button. Let me assure you, this is not a defect in the game. I repeat, this is not a defect. This is how Sword Art Online was designed to be.
He's kidding, right?
You cannot log yourselves out of SAO, and no one from the outside will be able to shut down or remove the Nerve Gear from your head. If anyone attempts to do so, a transmitter inside the Nerve Gear will discharge a microwave signal into your skull, destroying your brain and ending your life. Despite my warning, the families and friends of some of the players have attempted removing the nerve gear, an unfortunate decision to say the least. As a result, the game now has 213 less players than when it began. They've been deleted from both Aincrad and the real world.
213? No way. I don't believe it!
As you can see, international media outlets have round-the-clock coverage of everything, including the deaths. At this point, it's safe to assume the likelihood of a nerve gear being removed is minimal at best. I hope this brings you a little comfort as you try to clear the game. It's important you remember the following. There is no longer any way to revive someone within the game. If your HP drops to 0, your avatar will be deleted from the system forever. And the nerve gear will simultaneously destroy your brain. There's only one way for a player to escape now. You must clear the game. Right now, you're gathered on floor 1, the lowest level of Aincrad. If you can get through the dungeon and defeat the boss, you may advance to the next floor. Defeat the boss on floor 100, and you will clear the game. Last but not least, I've placed a little present in the item storage of every player. Please, have a look. Right now, you are probably wondering why. Why would Akihiko Kayama, developer of Sword Art Online and Nerve Gear, do this? Ultimately, my goal was a simple one. The reason I created Sword Art Online was to control the fate of a world of my design.
Kayama.
As you can see, I have achieved my goal. This marks the end of the tutorial and the official launch of Sword Art Online. Players, I wish you the best of luck.
After explaining the rules for escaping the game, Akihiko Kayaba tells the players to check their inventory as he has given each of them a gift. This is where the story gets even more interesting. The item is a simple mirror. So all the players take out their mirrors and look into them. This is when all of the players' created avatars transform and they become exact copies of their real faces and bodies. When each player synchronized their nerve gear, they were made input their height and weight and also to touch their bodies in various places to calibrate the system. And with the nerve gear being a helmet, it is able to take images of their face and use this data to force transform their avatars into their real selves for the most realistic experience, which they better explain in the show, so I won't go too deep into that. Let's get back to the show itself and Kirito's story. So with all of his knowledge from the beta test, Kirito goes off as a solo player and gains levels and equipment strong enough to keep him alive. And the second episode brings us to Kirito becoming known throughout the game as the Black Swordsman, and also to be called a beater. And this phrase was created by the raid team that was in the first boss battle with him by combining being a beta tester and being called a cheater for having such advanced knowledge. He willingly accepts this title as his own and not to be mistaken for the other chumps during the beta test, as he was the only person to reach a higher floor than anyone else and only as a solo player. I also believe he takes on this persona to give people someone to despise instead of fighting amongst themselves, and to not hate on the other beta testers that are actually giving out information, as a lot of players hold animosity thinking that they're harboring it and not giving it to the general public of players, which is not the case, as they created a walkthrough guidebook widely available and free to all players. He truly is an inspirational icon, and he tells everyone not to mix him up with those other chump beta testers, that he is a next level player and no one can match his skill or knowledge. Kirito slowly meets people in trouble throughout the show and always puts himself on the line to help those in need. By doing this, he ends up with a diverse group of friends, always wanting to help him in return, and with this, he becomes our iconic protagonist hero. Kirito meets people that he isn't able to save as well, and uses this for fuel for his heroic heart's fire to push himself to his limits. Over and over he triumphs, and one dilemma at a time, they reach higher and higher levels, beating floor after floor, boss after boss, and ever gaining ground to their escape from the prison they are trapped in, known as Sword Art Online. Later on, it actually gets known throughout the show as the Sword Art Online incident. One of these boss fights, Kirito and Asuna get trapped in the boss room when they're only trying to peek at what he looked like so they could pass on the information and come back as a raid party, but another group of players goes in ahead of them and starts getting wiped out. So as we know, it's our iconic hero and he just can't let that happen. But lo and behold, it's actually Asuna who dives in first to try to start to help them. So of course, he's not going to let Asuna die, so he dives in to help her. As they are trapped, they battle and battle, and when things start to look grim, Kirito asks them to cover him for a minute so he can activate a skill. And you guessed it, it's his iconic two-sword style, where he is able to dual-wield swords, adding to him being a complete badass. Once his skill activates, he lunges at the boss named Gleam Eyes, and swinging his swords, goes faster and faster and faster, swing after swing until he completely destroys Gleam Eyes and defeats him. This is one of the coolest and most triumphant battles in my books. It was beautiful. He does finally beat the final floor's boss, but in an unconventional way. Absolutely heartwarmingly, to be exact. After defeating one of the floor's bosses, he confronts the leader of one of the guilds called the Knights of the Blood Oath that are constantly working to clear the game, and he calls him out on the fact that he is in fact Akihiko Kayaba. That's right, the actual creator of Sword Art Online's nerve gear and the game. What person wouldn't want to be a part of a game they created to enjoy and immerse themselves in and experience the once-in-a-lifetime chance? So this is when Akihiko Kayaba uses his administrator privileges to cause paralysis on the rest of the current raid party, and then gives Kirito a choice. To either wait until floor 100 and fight him with a full raid party like they do all the other bosses, or fight him solo right now for the chance to free everyone currently still alive and save anyone else from potentially dying. What a dilemma of a choice, I'd say. To chance a solo battle for victory or death, or to wait till floor 100 and chance the possibility of more people, if not everyone else still trapped in the game, dying. This is such an iconic moment for so many reasons. So Asuna tells him not to do it, but in an earlier episode, Kirito promises his true love, Asuna, that he will do whatever it takes to clear the game and free them all from this virtual prison. His friends Agile and Klein are also there, and they tell him not to do it, that they will figure it out together, but I bet you already guessed it. He takes the choice for the solo fight. And the battle begins. As the battle rages on, Kirito fights his heart out, knowing that all of his sword skills were created by his opponent. So he relies on pure skill and fights faster and faster and tries harder and harder. Ends up making one misstep, and Akihiko Kayaba swings his blade down towards Kirito, and just when you think he's done for, Asuna somehow breaks the paralysis on her own and jumps in front of the blade, and her health drops to 0, and she dies. That's right, the saddest thing that could happen aside from Kirito himself dying is his true love being killed in front of him, trying to protect him. As she disappears, he grabs her sword, but is completely grief-stricken and can no longer put up any form of fight. Barely swinging his swords towards his opponent, Akihiko Kayaba plunges his sword into Kirito's chest, and his health depletes and depletes until it drops to 0. as his virtual body explodes into shards of data, and all of his data fragments glow yellow and start to reconfigure back together, stunning his opponent, and with a fierce yell again of the words, "Not yet," he plunges Asuna's blade into him, dropping Akihiko Kayaba's health to 0 as well. Then they both explode into data fragments, floating across the world, releasing them from this prison. That's right, he broke the coding on the game with sheer willpower and defeats the final floor's boss in a duel to the death. This shows us what we as humans can be capable of with our own sheer drive and perseverance. Like I said before, it is a beautiful show and so artistic. On November 7th, 2024, the game was cleared, and a 2.5-year battle after the 10,000 players all first became trapped in SAO, the remaining 6,147 still alive are all finally freed from Sword Art Online. But wait, there is way more to it, and some of those players never actually regained consciousness, including Asuna. And in another video dedicated to the second season of Sword Art Online, which is called Elfhelm Online, in that video, I'll be going more in depth on what unfolds for our iconic protagonist hero and Asuna herself. So check it out for more and watch as I break down Kirito's most epic moments of Season 2 and my future videos for the 3rd season, Gun Gale Online, and the 4th, Alicization. There are also a few movies to check out, but I'll get more into those in my next video. But they're absolutely amazing. Thanks for full diving in on this adventure of our friends Kirito, Asuna, Agile, Klein, and many others with me. If you enjoyed this video and want to party up again sometime, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more exciting content. Comment down below and let me know your thoughts about VR, Neuralink, gaming, Elon Musk, Sword Art Online, or anything outside the box. Until next time, keep learning, gaming, exploring, and pushing the boundaries of what society calls impossible, and let's make it possible together. Well, this is Zombie Conlon, logging off.